The 1970 Bhola Cyclone was the deadliest tropical cyclone on record, striking East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, on November 12, 1970, and resulting in an estimated 300,000 to 500,000 fatalities. On the night of November 12, 1970, the weather didn't just turn bad. The sea itself rose up and swallowed the land. It lasted only a few hours. But when the dawn broke, the world it revealed was unrecognizable. This is not just a story of wind and water. It is a story of a warning ignored, a crisis mismanaged, and a disaster that ignited a revolution. Part 1: The setting, a land below sea level. To understand the scale of the tragedy, you must first understand the place. In 1970, this was East Pakistan, a region dominated by the vast, low-lying Ganges-Brahmaputra Delta. It was, and is, one of the most fertile and densely populated places on Earth. For millions, life was built on the floodplains and countless river islands known as the chars, literally, at the mercy of the water. And above it all loomed the Bay of Bengal, a perfect breeding ground for cyclones. Warm waters, shallow coastlines, and funnel-shaped geography can turn a storm into a monster. A monster the locals called a nor'easter. The communities there were resilient, they lived with floods. But what was coming was of a different category entirely. It was a cyclonic storm surge, a wall of water pushed by the wind. In a land where much of the ground is less than 10 feet above sea level, that is a death sentence. Part 2: The storm gathers. The system formed in the central Bay of Bengal on November 8. It moved north, intensifying rapidly. By November 10, it was a severe cyclonic storm. Warnings were issued by the Indian Meteorological Department and relayed to authorities in East Pakistan. But communication was slow, fragmented, and for many in the remote islands, non-existent. The political context was crucial. East Pakistan felt neglected by the West Pakistani government in distant Islamabad. The gap between warning and action became a chasm. On November 12, the cyclone made a slight eastward turn. Its core, with winds estimated at 115 miles per hour, was now headed directly for the most vulnerable part of the coast, the islands of Bhola, Hatia, and the mouths of the Meghna River. As night fell, the tide was rising. The winds were screaming. And then, the surge came. Part 3: The night of the surge. The storm surge was apocalyptic, estimated at 20 to 30 feet high. It wasn't a wave, it was a new sea, arriving with the force of a continent. It scoured islands clean. It swept entire villages into the whirlpool of the Meghna River. Survivor testimony said, "The water came not like water, but like a giant, black animal. It broke the walls. We climbed onto the roof, then the roof was gone. All around was screaming, and then fewer screams. Daylight revealed a numbingly horrific landscape. Where there were villages, there was only mud. Bodies of humans and cattle lay tangled in the debris. The survivors, in shock, wandered through a world washed away. Catastrophic loss of life, communication severed, fears that the death toll may be in the hundreds of thousands." Part 4: The aftermath and the political earthquake. The initial response was slow and utterly inadequate. The Pakistani government, led by General Yahya Khan, was accused of profound negligence. The official death toll was placed at 300,000 to 500,000 lives, but many believe the true figure is closer to 500,000. Overnight, it became the deadliest natural disaster of the modern era. But the storm's impact didn't end with the floodwaters. It triggered a political tsunami. The Awami League, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, which had its power base in East Pakistan, spearheaded relief efforts where the government had failed. Experts said, the cyclone laid bare the central grievance, that East Pakistan was treated as a colony. When Mujib and his party became the face of the response, it galvanized public opinion. It was the final, devastating proof of their need for self-determination. In elections held just a month later, the Awami League won a landslide victory in East Pakistan. When the West Pakistani establishment refused to accept the result, the path was set. 9 months after the cyclone, the Bangladesh Liberation War began. In 1971, Bangladesh was born. The Bhola Cyclone was the catalyst. It wasn't just a natural disaster, it was the pivotal event that forged a nation. Part 5: Legacy and Remembrance. Today, the memory of Bhola is woven into the identity of Bangladesh. It led to the creation of one of the world's most advanced cyclone preparedness programs, an early warning network, thousands of cyclone shelters, and volunteer brigades that have since saved countless lives. Expert disaster management said, "Bhola was our great teacher. We learned that you cannot stop the cyclone, but you can stop the dying." The lessons from 1970 are directly responsible for the dramatically lower death tolls in storms of similar intensity today. But for the survivors, the lesson was written in loss. The trauma of that night is a ghost in the landscape, a story passed down through generations. The Bhola cyclone faded from global headlines, but its echoes are permanent. It stands as a stark reminder of how inequality multiplies disaster, and how the fury of nature can intersect with human history to change its course. It is a story of profound loss, but also of resilience and the unyielding will to survive. If you have stories or connections to this history, please share them in the comments below. To help support cyclone preparedness and disaster relief efforts today, links to reputable organizations are in the description. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more documentaries on forgotten chapters of our history.